What causes diseases of the joints, spine, or kidneys? Could these be related to problems with consciousness? Yes, they are related. Each chakra corresponds to a specific subtle body and manifests in a particular area of the physical body. Chakras receive and release energy, acting as portals to specific regions. When a problem manifests in the body, the location of the issue can help us clearly determine the level of consciousness from which it originated. The connection between the chakras and the subtle bodies reveals the root causes of illness. Let's talk about them, starting with the lower chakras and moving up to the upper chakras. I can't promise to cover every possible illness, but we will discuss some of the more common ones. Diseases that affect the joints of the legs or an inability to walk on the earth may indicate that either the earth is refusing to share its energy with you, or that your consciousness believes you are on the wrong path, and that you have been on that path for so long that it has already manifested at the level of the physical body. Whether the path you're following is right or wrong depends on your causal and buddhic bodies, as well as the essence of your I am. So if this problem has already reached the physical level, it is likely long-standing. Perhaps it didn't originate yesterday or even 10 years ago. Perhaps you decided to move to a new place, change your profession, or marry someone, and that decision turned out to be fundamentally wrong. That choice completely rewrote and predetermined your destiny. Joint pain often reflects this. It can also indicate that you are taking on an overwhelming burden, a responsibility that your consciousness cannot handle. From the perspective of safety, first through the etheric body and then through the physical body, your consciousness begins to signal, you have taken on too much. It will be difficult for us to bear this responsibility. There are cases, and I have come across them in my practice, where a person's joint or leg problems are not rooted in their personal issues but in their ancestral karma. For example, everyone in their lineage may have had problems with their legs, such as fractures in the same place or amputations, so that all the men in the family are one-legged. Similarly, all the women in the lineage may have suffered from painful swollen joints for some reason. If the problem is of this nature and has been passed down through the bloodline, then the root cause needs to be examined more deeply. Most likely, an ancestor has done something so unacceptable, so terrible that the earth itself rejects them, refuses to support them or provide them with energy. This often involves some significant desecration of the earth on a global scale. For instance, it might involve bloodshed, murder, deforestation, or water pollution. In other words, a severe act that caused such widespread damage that the earth, along with the spirits of the place where the ancestors lived, cursed the entire bloodline and all their descendants. Although rare, such cases do happen, because how do people treat the environment? Sometimes, they do something so extreme and out of the ordinary that it completely disrupts the ecosystem and changes the space around them. We often say of such people that the earth itself refuses to support them. Problems such as joint pain or leg ailments are usually related to one of these three causes. When the hand joints become swollen, painful, or immobile, the explanation is also quite simple. It's often a sign that you're doing something wrong. You're using your hands inappropriately, and you've probably been doing it for a long time, as the pain is now manifesting physically. Typically, work involving the hands is associated with people of the laborer caste, as they are the ones expected to leave behind something tangible and material. If you belong to the laborer caste and have problems with your hands, it means you're not doing the work you are meant to do. However, if you belong to a higher caste, such as the warrior caste or the ruling caste, and you have problems with your hands, it means the opposite. You are doing something you shouldn't be doing. In other words, you are spending your time on the wrong activities. For example, if you're a warrior, hand problems might suggest that you're holding the wrong thing. You should be wielding a sword, but instead, you're holding a kettle, and that doesn't align with your purpose. Now regarding the oncology issues, which have become increasingly relevant in recent times. Of course, this problem didn't arise yesterday. Cancer has always existed. As doctors say, there are no completely healthy people, only those who haven't been fully examined. It's the same with oncology, it has always been present, but the focus on diagnosing and treating it hasn't been as prominent in the past. Cancer, however, represents severe damage at the cellular level, at the level of the first chakra Muladhara. Such diseases typically occur when you live on an earth that is not in alignment with you. For example, the earth can become polluted or desecrated, and when that happens, it loses its frequency characteristics. And over time it can stop aligning with you. You may have lived on it all your life without any problems, but then something changes, the frequency of the earth shifts, and it no longer supports you. Instead of strengthening you, it starts to drain your energy. As a result, you can develop cancer. This disease doesn't come out of nowhere. We all carry cancer cells within us like a ticking time bomb. These cells are present in everyone. But in some people, they inevitably develop, while in others, they don't. It may not be entirely accurate to say that people of the laborer caste are the most susceptible to cancer, although my statistics suggest that this is the case. However, it's not 100% true. People from the merchant, warrior, and ruling castes can also get this disease. Changes in the Earth's frequency characteristics can occur for various reasons. The most well-known example is the Chernobyl disaster. In the Brest region of Belarus, where I frequently visit and work, I've observed that nearly every second person, if not every first, has faced cancer. This is because a radioactive cloud once passed through that area, and to prevent it from spreading to Europe, it was stopped in Brest as a precaution. If it had spread further, the scandal would have been enormous. No amount of money would have been enough to cover the damage. So the cloud was stopped in Brest. Of course, the local population was not informed. While those deemed important enough were moved to safer areas, everyone else was left in the dark, probably on the assumption that the laborers didn't need any explanations. As a result, those who remained were exposed to radioactive fallout, which naturally led to cancerous mutations. People couldn't feel the radioactive contamination. Animals can detect it, but humans cannot. Oncological diseases can also be passed down through genes, meaning through the bloodline. So if someone in your bloodline has developed cancer, you may be predisposed to it as well. We already know that in our world, your bloodline and its belonging to a particular caste leave an imprint on you. Of course, you may be born into a warrior caste, but if you live among laborers, you will to some extent be deeply integrated into their caste. Merchants are more mobile, they don't have to stay in one place. Warriors are even more mobile, they are always where they need to be. And while merchants are where they want to be or where it's profitable for them to be, warriors are where they must be. This is in contrast to laborers, who always stay in one place. So, when the earth is affected, it's the laborers who suffer first. Merchants can use their intuition to leave the affected area before it's too late. Warriors may or may not end up in the affected area, they are wanderers after all, and almost none of them have a permanent home. And members of the laborer caste are most likely to stay in the affected area. When ecological disasters occur, the Earth's frequency characteristics change. Similarly, when many black magic rituals are performed in a particular area, or when an animal burial ground is established, the Earth's frequency characteristics also change. In other words, there can be many causes. Eventually, everything will be restored, but the recovery process takes so long that people may not notice it. Several generations could be born and die in that area before the restoration takes place. A polluted earth always lowers its frequencies. They get lower and lower and lower until they reach zero frequency. And instead of providing resources, the earth begins to take them away. Do I make myself clear? During the recovery process, the earth begins to drain energy from all living things. In such places, birds don't sing, trees don't grow, there is no vegetation, or the vegetation begins to mutate severely. And humans have somewhat lost their animal instincts, including their intuition of where it is dangerous and where it is safe to be. We become too attached to our material possessions. And because of this attachment, we sometimes fail to heed the clues from our subconscious. We often miss the moment when we should leave everything behind and get out of an area where such a situation is developing. Imagine a pimple suddenly appearing on your arm. It will eventually heal, or at worst, you will pop it or treat it with some medicine. But the microbes around the pimple will suffer greatly as they begin to die off in large numbers. It's a real tragedy for them, a real catastrophe, but you don't notice it. In the same way, the earth doesn't notice humans. What are humans to the earth? Just tiny microbes. The earth breathes in, breathes out, and in one breath, 2 generations of human beings are born and die. But if you make contact with the spirits of the earth, they will immediately warn you when it's better to leave a place in times of danger. And if someone has already developed cancer, is there any point in leaving the affected area? Even if the disease has already developed, there is still a point. There are specific rituals for working with the earth. If you become ill in one place, it means you have to heal in another. And it's clear that the new land must be drastically different. You must find a place where the earth nourishes you instead of draining you. You need to make an agreement with the land, bring offerings, connect with its spirits, and live on the land that agrees to heal you. Actually, there are plenty of stories about people who were diagnosed with a terminal illness in an urban environment and decided to leave everything behind and move to the countryside. They think, well, I'm going to die anyway, so it doesn't matter where. At least I'll fulfill my dream and go hunting for wild boar. They settled somewhere in the countryside, came back a year later, and their diagnosis was gone. And this case is far from unique, there are countless similar examples. These people, simply by instinct or intuition, found land that agreed to heal them, a land that didn't drain them, but nourish them.